Hey, it's Darryl Syms, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Nick Johnston. I first saw Nick play in about 2012. It was such an incredible show. He's such a cool dude and obviously a very incredible guitar player. Not only technically, but also his approach and musicality is something that's definitely noteworthy and that I want to talk about in today's video. So the piece that I played at the beginning of the video is just an improvisational piece based on the song Atomic Mind. And I chose this with the intentions of giving you a bit of insight on how Nick plays lead and incorporates some chords into his lead playing, as well as trying to give you a bit of insight into the music theory behind some of his musical choices. Alright, now the first thing that I want you to be mindful of is that throughout this video, I'm tuned in E flat. I strongly advise that you change your tuning to E flat also if you're not already, or for those of you who can't be bothered, then that's totally okay. Just be mindful that yours is obviously going to sound a little bit brighter than mine, unless you play everything that I play just one fret down. So we're going to start off this piece with 2 chords, and I'm going to start with the volume on about 5 or 6 maybe, and as we go through this piece I'm going to be increasing that to build that dynamic ceiling. So the first 2 chords are a B minor add 9, and then we're going to play a B flat. Nice and easy so far, and this should already tell you that we're in the key of B minor. And the second chord there is not a diatonic chord, which is already interesting. The B flat, that's actually a sharp 7 chord, since the diatonic chord would actually be an A major chord. But as I said, we get a sharp 7 here, so we bring that up a semitone for that B flat chord. So the first lick, if you like, sounds like this. So we start off by sliding into the minor third of the B minor there, and I'm raking that to give it a lot more attitude, and then we kind of descend this arpeggio shape, finishing on the root note there again. Now throughout that arpeggio shape, I'm adding a lot of phrasing, just as Nick does, by pulling that bridge up. You can use a whammy bar, but to really get that Nick Johnston sound, you really want to be pulling that bridge. Moving on from here, the second line sounds like this. So we have this non-diatonic note there. I'd basically ascend a pentatonic run. And then this note is completely wrong, but it sounds good because we resolve it really quickly. So this note here. And then finish back on the root. Next up we have So let me play that slowly for you. The majority of this is going to be pentatonic bass, but keep an eye out for some of those notes that don't belong to the pentatonic scale. So here we go. So as I said, for the most part it's just pentatonic bass, with the exception of a very small couple notes that are played so quickly they're really just considered passing notes. We've got a major third there in the middle, and then you get a couple of these legato lines where you play the third finger and then drop that little, come back to the third and then the first. So we've got playing that open E string, which leads us into our first chord here, which is just an E major chord. Now if we're playing diatonically, that should be a minor chord. That's actually our 4 chord, and in a minor key, a 4 chord should be by default minor. However, you'll find this a lot throughout this piece, that many of the diatonic chords are swapped and substituted for their relative major substitutions. Now after that E major chord, we have this G major 7 sus2, beautiful chord. So it would be this shape for a G major 7, but we're taking out that third and adding in that second degree, making it a G major 7 sus2. We're going to roll around on that for a little bit before playing a minor version there. We're adding that minor minor third to give it a bit more tension. So once again, we start off by playing the 6th chord, which is a major 6 in a minor key, and then we swapped it for its minor substitution to give it a bit more tension and interest. So if I play that previous lick all together, we would have something that sounds like this. And again, I'm pulling that bridge just to give it a bit more phrasing, a bit more interest. And then the next line sounds like this. So let me break that down a little bit there. We start off by playing that root note with an upstroke, add in some phrasing, some chromatics, and some outside notes as well. This one here, that's your major 7 of B minor, that's not in key, but again, we're just considering it a passing note. And then the same thing here, we pull off to that flat 5, but we're going past it quite quickly. It's just outside notes. And again, we slide up to the minor third towards the top and sort of bring it back into key, if you like. And that would be sort of a pentatonic run there before. So we're finishing on that root note. Now after this comes my favorite line of the whole piece. It's a very fast run. There's a lot of hybrid picking and sweep picking here, so I'm going to start off by playing it real slow before explaining anything. It's very cool when it's played fast, but let's break that down for you now. So it's actually based on 3 simple arpeggios. We have a minor arpeggio to begin with here, another minor one here, and then another one here. So it starts off with a lot of legato. There's a lot of technique-based playing in here, so I'm going to be talking about the right hand a lot. Let's slow it down. Now Nick likes to double pick at the top of some of these arpeggios and sweeping patterns. So we're going to double pick that note and then skip back to the G string, and then you're going to bring in that second finger to play that bottom string again. So there's a lot of hybrid picking here. There's another double pick there. An outside note, more hybrid picking. Now again, this is an outside note, but we're bending it in key. So it sounds totally okay. After that, we follow up with, so that's just a pentatonic line really, and then we have a very slow, melodic, phrased line here. Similarly to what we did at the beginning of the song actually, when we did basically doing the same thing here but following another minor arpeggio. Now after that phrase, we finish on the 14 of the A string here, which leads us into the next sort of chord run, which sounds like this. So let's break that down. We have a series of chords here, starting off with a B minor 9, which is of course our 1 chord. And then we have a 6 chord, which is just the G major 7. Using that B string to our advantage since there is a B in here. And then an E, which as we discovered earlier is not diatonic. This is actually a major substitution for our 4 chord. And then after this we play a sort of open G shape if you like, except with the first finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, making it a G sus2. Beautiful chord, very nice indeed. And then we move to a C major 7 inversion. So this C major 7 starts on a G here, which makes it an inversion. Using a lot of open strings to our advantage here. Now again, this is another one of those chords that are not diatonic. This is a very interesting chord choice, in fact, since it's our flat second. And despite it being a major chord, it actually sounds very evil in relevance to the B minor key, because that chord in specific comes from our Phrygian mode. So let me play that whole chord run together. That sort of thing, before moving on to the next chord, which is our 1 chord again, starting on the B there. And that pretty much concludes everything that I want to go over. After that, I just do some crazy fast runs, but I will move on to that in just a moment. But before I do, I want you to rewind the video if you need to, try and follow along as best as you can, and really pay attention to some of the chord substitutions that I play throughout the piece, because there are a few major and minor substitutions, as well as one chord which comes from modal interchange, which is your Phrygian chord. So let me play everything so far at a sort of medium pace for you to try and follow along to. So that was the first half, which I advise you now before moving on to the second half, because we start off with this really fast run. So hopefully so far that's given you a little bit of insight on how to play the piece that I played at the beginning of the video, as well as also understand it. Let's finish this off now with the really fast section at the end of the video. So at this point, I got my volume on full. I just would have went to my bridge pickup for those last 2 chords to give it some real attitude. And then I switch back to my neck, maybe roll the volume off 1 or 2 numbers. And then I have something similar to what we've already played. I did something along the lines of this. So I'll just stop there for a brief moment to explain what I've done so far. So once again, I've worked around 3 arpeggios, if you like. The first one, doing some double picks at the top there. And then here's the second one. And then that's kind of the second one where I draw back into the pentatonics. So these are all sort of pentatonic notes. And then I play this outside note, which is your flat 5, bending that up into the 5th, which kind of throws your ear off guard at this point. Now from here, I play something along the lines of this. As you may have noticed as well, I flicked to my bridge pickup, so again, give it that bite and attitude. So we've got... So a lot of chromatics there. And that note there would be our major 7, which implies harmonic minor at this point. So I take advantage of this, do heaps of chromatics as I descend. highlighting that harmonic minor note. There it is again, of which I play a diminished chord. That's exactly the same chord, just a different order of notes. So I play a B flat diminished, followed by a G diminished, and then that's just a sort of G flat major chord there, 2 open strings at the bottom, and then that really nicely leads into our B minor, since that's our 5 chord, and your 5 is going to pull you back to the root chord, which again was originally our B minor add 9. So once again, let me play that whole last bit relatively slowly or at a medium speed for you to try and follow along and make sense of. Here we go. Now I would have played that differently because that last bit was completely made up and I've not tabbed that section out. But for those of you who are interested, I have tabbed out the rest of this piece, which you'll be able to download if you're a Patreon. If you want to consider becoming a Patreon, then please check out the link in the description below. So that's just about everything that I want to cover in this video. Hopefully you took away a bunch of cool ideas, whether that's just theory ideas or some technique, things like that. I strongly advise that to get maximum benefit from this video, that you rewind it, pause it, slow it down where you need to, and most importantly, of course, have fun with it. If you want to learn more about theory and some of the ideas that I mentioned throughout this video, then please consider checking out my practical guitar theory course, which is linked in the description below. And if there's anything that I overlooked in this video or something that didn't quite make sense, then do let me know in the comments below and perhaps I or somebody else can help you out. So there we go. Until next time, I will see you in the next video.